Hey everyone, welcome to today's live. Just gonna turn the chat on here. Let me know if you can hear and see me. We are live on multiple platforms. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I will be taking some Q&A, but first off, big announcement so far today. One of two announcements. The Bank of Canada has announced that they have cut interest rates, which is awesome, right? Who's not pumped about that? I don't see any scenario where people are not pumped about interest rates going down or being cut, right? But I could be wrong. Let me know if you disagree or if you don't like it. I'm always curious to see what people are thinking. But yeah, today we're going to chat about that, about Bank of Canada cutting interest rates. There we go. I'm trying to get things organized here. And I'm going to give you guys some stats in a bit. So let's chat about that. The Fed is next up, I think at like 2 p.m. Eastern time. So in about 2 hours from now, the Fed will be announcing. So we'll talk about that as well. But let's start off with Canada, since they have already announced at like 9:45 this morning. As people were predicting, all the economists and mortgage brokers that I was talking with or speaking with, they cut by 0.25%, okay, which is absolutely amazing. So by 0.25%, bringing it to 3% overall overnight lending rate, okay? Now, okay, so first off, amazing. Uh, I've got how many mortgages? I have I have three mortgages right now that are excuse me, that are variable. So this is great news for me and Mel. When I say me, I mean Mel and I. So those ones, by tomorrow, my actual mortgage payments will be less, which I'm pumped. Who wouldn't be pumped about that, right? And then we're going to be refinancing probably 4 to 6 buildings this year. 2025 is the year of refinances for Mel and I and acquisition. But let's stay on topic here. Let's talk about Bank of Canada. So if you've been following along, every single announcement day, I have been going live to chat with you about the Bank of Canada and the Fed, which today is both in one, which I kind of love. I just wish the Fed would have announced by now. But anyway, they always do it at like 2 o'clock. So if you have been following, you know what I'm going to say. In the last 7 months, 7 months, Bank of Canada, excuse me, has cut overnight lending rates 6 times. And I want to go over the math with you here, okay? So back in June of 2024, oh my gosh, sounds weird saying 2024. June of 2024, they reduced it by 0.25 basis points. Then July, right, just over a month later, they did another 0.25 oh my gosh, basis points. Then in September, they did another 0.25. So 3 cuts at 0.25, June, July, September. Then came the jumbo cuts. So in October 23rd, boom, 0.50. Jumbo cut is what they did, bringing us down to 3.75. And then December 11th, right, just before the holidays, another jumbo. I was pumped about that one. Another jumbo cut of 50 basis points, bringing us down to 3.25. So with today, as you guys are hopefully already know, or if not, Bank of Canada has cut by 0.25, which now brings the overnight lending to 3%. So they're now predicting, right? They're trying to, what was I going to say? They're trying to mitigate possible anticipated, and I'm just reading something that I'd put aside here, economic impact of proposed U.S. tariffs. Okay, so that's what their strategy of reducing by 0.25 this morning was. They said that they're probably going to ease a little bit more over the next few months. So we probably, again, I don't want to speculate, but I'm just going by what people are saying, the economists and that depending on what happens with the tariffs, depending what happens with the president down south, that we might see them ease into some more cuts. So I don't think we'll get the jumbos anymore. Could be wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully we still get jumbos, but we definitely are. Like, think about this. We started this time last year. We were what? We were a full 2% higher than we are now. So we're in a much better position, in my opinion, in regards to lending rates. So in 7 months, we've gone down by a full 2%, which is incredible when you really think about it, right? Like if you look at historically and all that, 7 months going down 2%, I'm pumped about it, and I'm really happy with where it's going. So today, I'm happy to see the cut. Hopefully this afternoon with the Fed. Hopefully we'll see a cut there. Most likely going to hold, though, is what people are saying. And if you have questions, again, guys, please put it in the chat. Do not be shy. Yeah, if you have any questions or if you have comments about the cuts or about here, I'm going to put a link here in the chat about the interest rate cuts or where it's going. Definitely put in the chat. I know I'm live on multiple platforms here, so depending on what platform you're on, let's say if you're tuning in from TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, make sure to check us out over on YouTube as well. We release a video every single week. This week is which video? Actually, we're doing a walkthrough of our most recent Orlando purchase. Okay, last week we did a vlog of Mel and I and Colton's trip to Orlando or to Florida. So if you're not following us on YouTube, it's longer form videos. There's a lot of creative financing stuff as well, deal breakdowns, all of that. If you're tuning in on YouTube and you're not following us on the other platforms, we do a lot of other shorter videos and stories on the other platforms. So make sure it's always at Investor Mel Dave. So the Fed this afternoon probably going to stay the same, is what they're predicting. I'd love to be surprised. I'd love that they surprise us all and they cut by 0.25, right? Wouldn't that be just yeah, a great surprise? I agree. I've got a couple of places that I'm closing in Florida soon and some refis coming up in Ohio that I'd love for interest rates to keep going down in the U.S. I know there's a lot of our Action family members, more and more, that are purchasing right in the U.S., whether they're U.S. citizens or they're Canadian citizens like Mel and I purchasing in the U.S. I know that's something more and more the Action family member is doing. Action family members are doing, or whether you, if you're tuning in, whether you're watching this live right now, or whether you're watching the replay later, whether you are in the US or you are in Canada and you're thinking, I do want to start buying in the US, right? So you're probably hoping that the Fed cuts interest rates as well. But again, I was reading articles and talking to US economists, and a lot of it is, again, with all the tariff talk, with the new president coming in the US, all of that, it just causes so much uncertainty with the actual interest rates, right? In my opinion, it doesn't cause any uncertainty about buying real estate, right? We're always buying real estate, but who knows what they'll do. So let's go over the stats for the U.S. So not as exciting, not as many cuts as the Bank of Canada, right? Which the 6 and 7 months. But what the U.S. had was, so let's go back to September. So they started cutting a little later, right? We started cutting, or Canada started cutting in June, and the U.S. started cutting in September. So September 18th, 2024. They reduced it by, they started out with a jumbo, right? Canada did 0.25, 0.25, 0.25. The Fed did, boom, 0.5. So in September, they did a jumbo cut, bringing it down from, that doesn't seem right. Yeah, they did a jumbo cut. I'd written some stuff down here, but I got to double check if I made sure I did that right. November 7th, right, they had done another 0.25. And then December 18th, right after Bank of Canada, the week after, they had done another 0.25. So 3 cuts in September. Hopefully today, again, another cut for the Fed. That'd be awesome. But either way, like whether they hold still or they cut, it's still a great time to be buying, in my opinion. Mel and I are continuing to buy in the 5 countries, right? We do this in Canada, US, Costa Rica, Mexico, and Dominican Republic. So the US, we invest in Texas, Florida, and Ohio. Ohio is so cheap. It is so cheap. The price per door, it's just like, because I speak to people from all over the world all the time, right? Mostly North America, but so I'll be talking with people from all over Canada and all over the US. And so I'll talk to people who are living in British Columbia, or they're living in downtown Toronto, or they're living in Montreal or Calgary or Winnipeg, or they're in Washington, they're in California, they're in Miami, like whatever, it doesn't matter. And I start talking about Ohio. Like, for example, last summer, spring, summer, doesn't matter. Last summer, we bought a triplex, and I talk about this all the time because I say the numbers and it blows people's minds. Last summer, we bought a triplex in Ohio, just south of Cleveland, so in Akron, Ohio, for $72,000. Like, when I tell people from British Columbia or those hot markets, like I just mentioned earlier, when I tell people that, they're like, Dave, I can't even put a down payment of $72,000 on a place to buy in the market that I'm looking at. Right. So it's just, Ohio, the reason we're buying there more and more is just because of that price point as well. We're actually going to be analyzing deals tomorrow night. So whenever you're watching this, so Thursday, January 30th. So Thursday, January 30th, Mel and I are actually going to be doing a presentation at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So whether you're watching, after the fact, you can still check it out. We'll send you the replay. But if you want to attend it live, that's the link that I put on the screen there to attend it as well. So if you're just tuning in, Bank of Canada cut by 0.25. The Fed will be announcing in about an hour and 50 minutes. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be a cut. Now, if you are looking at investing in the U.S., let's talk about U.S., okay? Because more and more, I am talking to individuals who, whether it's their first deal or their next deal, they do more and more want to start focusing on south of the border, right? If you're Canadian, obviously it's south of the border. If you're in the U.S., you might want to start looking at a different state than one that you're living in, possibly, or just getting started. That's exactly what Mel and I can show you how to do. What we strive at doing, Mel and I, is couple things. Number one, showing people how to do it the way we do it. And the way we do it is leveraging other people's money in creative financing. Okay, so what are the 4 different types of creative financing that we leverage and utilize? So the first one would be, it's seller financing, and there's 2 of them. What I mean by that is we like to do agreement for sale. So in Canada, AFS, agreement for sale. That's literally where you put a contract on the property to control it without even owning it. So you don't have the debt or the ownership, but you control the asset. You can continue to rent it out. You can sell it for a higher price. You control the asset. So that's an AFS in Canada, or it's a wrap mortgage in the US. Same difference, right? Tomato. A little bit of differences, but you get the point. The other seller financing option that we like is where they actually hold a mortgage. So the deal actually sells. It actually changes hands to your LLC or your corporation, depending if you're buying in Canada or the US, right? It's very different. And especially for Canadians buying in the US, make sure that you're very well versed in how to do it. And that's what we teach in our Action family. But that's where the seller, obviously, they sells you the building and you have actual ownership and they hold financing on it. Okay. That's a second way that we buy assets, right? Seller financing, they hold the note, they hold the mortgage. The third way of doing it is using registered funds or retirement funds. Okay, so in Canada, and these are all things that we'll be talking about in our webinar tomorrow. So if I'm going fast and you're just going, hey, what is he saying? Again, we'll be going more in depth on the actual webinar tomorrow. So in Canada, using RRSPs in the form of a mortgage. Okay, so you can use your own. You can use your own to buy in different countries, or you can use someone else's to buy, in the country that you're in. And same in the US, 401k or Roth IRA. You can use your own to buy in, like, let's say Costa Rica, or you could use someone else's to buy, somewhere in the US. And then the fourth one is promissory notes. Now, this again can be considered a security. So I am not an attorney or a lawyer. So definitely talk to lawyers, attorneys, or notaries, or whatever legal representation in that area to do it. But yeah, we'll be breaking down deals with all of those forms of creative financing tomorrow. And I think we break down like 4 or 5 deals as well. One of them is a flip we did in Costa Rica. So we actually show you a short-term rental flip that we did out there. All done. Mel and I are located in North Bay, Ontario, Canada, right? Excuse me. So you can do this from anywhere. As long as you have a laptop and Wi-Fi, you can buy real estate and manage real estate. Okay. So in Canada, and that's why I'm excited to see these interest rate cuts in Canada, because Mel and I continue to buy in Canada as well. So yes, obviously, yes, we're focusing on the US, but we continue to buy in Canada. So Ontario and Alberta are principally where we invest in Canada. But you can do this all over. We have Action family members that do it in BC, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, out east, right? New Brunswick, we have St. John, Labrador. So people are doing it all over Canada. We chose those 2, Ontario, because we live in Ontario, and Alberta, because it's very landlord friendly and investor friendly. There's no land transfer tax, right? The Residential Tenancy Act, the Landlord Tenant Board out there is more landlord friendly, in my opinion. So that's why we're investing out there. Ontario, again, it's our backyard, so we do it here as well. And then in the US, Texas, Florida, Ohio. Okay, so we show you how to do it. But if you want to do it in other states, like if you say, Dave, cool, you're doing Texas, Florida, Ohio, but I want to do Tennessee, I want to do Arizona, Nevada, like whatever it is, we can show you how to do it as well. We have a lot of Action family members that are investing in those states. New York, where else? Montana, Arkansas. I looked at Arkansas. Arkansas might be, anyway, Arkansas is also very landlord investor friendly, in my opinion. But every state has its different things. Just they're almost kind of like separate countries, right? But the most important thing is if you are a foreign national like Mel and I are, right? We're Canadians. If you are a foreign national buying in the US, it's a different ball game. There's different rules. You know the 1031 exchange. Everyone says, "Oh, you don't pay taxes 1031." Okay, cool. You can do that on the US side. A US citizen can do that all day every day, and there's obviously parameters to do it, right? The 45 days. Anyway, as a Canadian, just for example, as a Canadian, yes, you can do it on the US side. But on the Canadian side, CRA goes, yeah, I don't care that you did a 1031. Cool. That's what the IRS said. Where's my money? Right. Like, so the CRA doesn't recognize it. And just, you didn't get the money. You passed it on to the next deal doing the 1031, and the IRS is okay with it. But CRA goes, come on, I want my taxes. I want my money. So again, there's things like that as a Canadian or as a foreign national that you have to know about. Right. And it's a whole ball of wax. And that's what we teach inside of the Action family, to do it just like Mel and I do. So actually, I'm going to put this because I want to talk about AI. Oh, did I already put it? I do want to talk about AI, and while we're on the topic of the U.S., okay? People ask me all the time, Mel, Dave, how? They don't ask me, Mel, but they ask me, how do you and Mel find deals in the U.S.? Okay, we work with developers to create this. It's called Deals Action Profit. Okay, DAP. And this is an app to find on-market and off-market deals in the US. Okay, now the caveat here, it uses AI, artificial intelligence. Now, what does this do? So this will go, it searches the background, right? This uses like 40 years of MLS data, like 40 years. It's using the history to predict, no, it's using the past to predict the future. It's using history to predict the future. That makes no sense, Dave. But anyway, it's using the past to predict the future. So it's 40 years of MLS data. Okay, think of how much data that is. Data, whatever. The other thing too, it uses billions of touch points of AI, right? AI uses billions of touch points of data as well. Right? It'll say, are they late on their car payment? Do they have a kid in school? How long have they owned it? Is it free and clear? I love the free and clear. I love knowing these people have owned it for 20, 30 years. It's completely paid off. Is it a mom and pop? You can literally narrow it down. Like, I find it's an unfair advantage because you're using AI. And then I find these properties, whether they're off market or on market, and then I know if they're most likely in the next 90 days, again, using artificial intelligence. Like, go check out the site. Anyway, it's very, very reasonably priced. Mel and I have launched it. It's still kind of in soft launch, so you guys would be you'll be very impressed. But you'll use AI and you'll be able to see in the next 90 days whether this mom and pop who have it completely paid off, who have owned it for over, 20, 30 years, who are kind of bored investors. They might not really love it anymore. Their kids don't want the deal. You are equipped with all this information. Okay, again, whether it's on the MLS or off market, the system will show you. So yes, you might be going directly through an agent because it's on the MLS, or hey, you can skip trace it, right, for like 10 cents, I think, a lead to get the information to contact the seller directly. But this is what I'm saying. In the US, the what's the word I'm looking here? The information that you're able to get is night and day. Like in Canada, all the privacy acts and all that, it's very tough to get at this information. That's why we have this app in the US, not in Canada. But in the US, this information is accessible. And this app, this AI app, the Deals Action Profit that Mel and I have worked with developers to create, does it for you. So back to the mom and pop, completely paid off, have owned it 20, 30 years. Whether it's listed on the MLS with an agent or it's off market and I find their number by skip tracing them. I now go into that negotiation knowing you don't have debt on the property. You could now, technically, you could hold 100% financing for me, or you could hold a first place mortgage, 95%. I give you a 5% down and we balloon the payment. And if I'm talking complicated here, we have YouTube videos and we have training on this as well. But you can go into it knowing that they are actually financially most likely in a position. And the AI will actually tell you it's 3 different things. It has scores for like from 1 to 1,000. So it'll say, hey, from 1 to 1,000, what is the score that in the next 90 days that these people will list it to sell on the MLS? Okay, 500 or 600 or 900. Okay, they're going to list soon. The second thing that it tells you, in the next 90 days, from 1 to 1,000, how likely are they to sell to an investor like me? Right? If I see something in the 800s, the 900s, I need to call them now because if it's not Dave or if it's not me, it's going to be another real estate investor. It might be you because you're using the Deals Action Profit app. So it narrows it down like that. Like that's what I'm saying. And with hopefully the Fed announcing, a cut this afternoon, coupled with, or even if they hold it, it's still a great time to buy real estate. Coupled with this AI app, the Deals Action Profit, like you're able to find these deals. So you'll know if they're going to sell to an investor, or let's say if you're a wholesaler, or let's say if you're starting out and you want to make a quick buck, you'll have the score again. Hey, will they sell it to a wholesaler, and what's the price they'll sell it to? And it'll actually give you a price of what it would go for. Again, do your own due diligence as always. But yeah, check out that app, guys. It's Deals Action Profit. Everything that Mel and I do has the word action in it. Why? Because just like the Bank of Canada took action this morning and cut by 0.25, thank you, BoC. Do it again. When's the next? I forget when the next announcement is, but do it again. Next announcement. Keep doing it. Keep interest rates going down. But just like they took action and cut rates, right, 6 times in the last 7 months, everything that Mel and I do has the word action in it because we've now been investing for over 27 combined years. Okay, Mel and I have been doing this. Mel started right after, I think it was right after the 08 crash. I started a couple of years after. It doesn't matter. Over the years, what we've noticed that's so important is action and execution. Okay, because I talk to people all the time, like I mentioned. A lot of people talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. Okay, and what I mean by that, you can read all the books you want. You can watch all the YouTube videos. Hopefully you're watching ours. But at the end of the day, like buying real estate is buying real estate, right? So it's taking that action. So that's what we call it, our action family. We didn't have a name at first. We're like, oh my gosh, there's so many people taking action in here. Action family. It's like a big family. Then we have our action agents, right? At EXP, it's our group. It's agents who are investor focused, right? And then we have the Deals Action Profit, okay? Because that's literally what it's meant to do. It's meant to help you find the deals on market, off market, using artificial intelligence, right? The unfair advantage. If you're not using AI nowadays, guys, like, anyway, I'm not saying you absolutely need to, but like, why not use AI? Like, that's why Mel and I developed this app. We were like, Mel and I still have 4 coaches, right? And they were like, guys, you need AI. Like anyway. So that's why Mel and I wanted to introduce this to our Action Family Mentoring Program, to our Investor Mel and Dave community. Guys, especially in the US, the AI is the unfair advantage. Well, I shouldn't even say unfair. It is the advantage. Okay. So why not help yourself out? So yeah, Deals Action Profit. It helps you find the deals, right? Then you have to take the action. You have to negotiate and do all that again, which is the fun part. And then profits, right? Making profits from real estate, like Mel and I have been doing for a combined 27 years. Now, the other thing that Mel and I, again, we do it with other people's money and creative financing, and we don't do joint venture partners. Okay. And how do I say this? JVs, right? I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying don't do them. It's just, I talk to people on the backside of them. People will come to me and Mel and I, excuse me, and they're like, I did a JV. We're in a lawsuit. It's not going well. I wish I came to see you first. We did a JV. It was supposed to make money. They lied. They overcharged. And now all this for nothing. Like, again, I'm not saying every joint venture is going to be a flop here. Please don't take it that way. But I speak to enough people that's why when Mel and I first started, we were like in Canada and in the US, right? I know I'm drifting off from the announcements here, but that's why in the beginning we were like, we don't want to do joint ventures. We want to completely control the assets that we buy and our portfolio. And that's what we do. And that's what we show. So how to buy deals in Canada, in the US. In the US, get the app, guys. Get the AI app, the Deals Action Profit. Get it. It's going to help you. You'll be able to find deals. It's actually linked up with Home Depot. You're actually going to be able to get quotes for your renovations, right? Directly hooked up with Home Depot that's using nationwide prices. Like it's a really cool tool. You'll have a CRM as well. But where was I going at with that? So something else with the joint ventures that I see a lot of. And I was telling my Action Family or our Action Family about something. So last week, Mel and I, because creative financing, right? And we were looking at holding a mortgage for partners. They wanted us to hold a mortgage, and I think it was 3 partners. Doesn't matter. I'll just make up an example here just to give you the example. So there's 3 joint venture partners. Okay, they wanted a mortgage of $300,000. They thought that, oh, by doing a JV and having 3 people, I'm only on the hook for 100K. You know what I mean? They think that they're spreading the liability. You're in charge of 100, I'm in charge of 100, and you're in charge of 100. So I'm getting 300K, but my risk is 100K. And don't take this as legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not an accountant. I don't have any letters after my name. I'm just a real estate investor that's done it over and over again. And the lawyer was telling us again, and I'm like, oh my gosh, people need to know this because they think JVs, you're insulated or you're safer because you're spreading the responsibility. So I said the same thing to the lawyer. Well, they're technically spreading the responsibility. And they said, no, Dave, that's not at all. They think they're spreading the responsibility amongst 3 people, which they're not on the hook, right? Because they're personally guaranteeing the debt, which is normal. Right, Mel and I personally guarantee every single piece of real estate that we own in the 5 countries. It's not owned by us, but we have to personally guarantee it. Back to the story. So what the lawyer was saying is, again, it doesn't, unless you specifically have it in the contract, is completely, you're 100, I'm 100, all that. But typically joint venture contracts and agreements, and when you're having mortgages with personal guarantees, it'll say words like jointly or separately. So it'll say things like, you are jointly responsible for the 300K. You're separately responsible for the 300K, which again means you alone and you together are responsible for the 300K in this story that I'm telling you guys. Okay, so that the one JV partner that thought, oh, I'm spreading my responsibility over 3 people. I'm only responsible for a third. No. You are jointly responsible. So if something happens and the creditors or the bank or whatever wants to go after just you for the full 300, they can go after just you for the full 300. So for people that think JVs are safer, you could actually be on the hook for other people's decisions for the entire thing. So I almost find them, this is just my opinion, guys, I almost find them riskier. Like, I don't want to be personally responsible for all the money for other people's decisions. Like, that's why Mel and I don't do JVs. I don't mind being responsible for Mel and I's decisions because we're one household. We're a family, right? We're best friends. We make the decisions together. But to be responsible for other people's decisions or other people, like, I don't know. That's why I don't do JVs. I went on way too long of a rant there about JVs. But anyway, that's why Mel and I, we teach the Action family to solely own, use other people's money in creative financing, how to build generational wealth, right? So build a portfolio that you can pass along to your kids, your family, your community, your church, your whatever, insert here that you want to leave it to. That's exactly what Mel and I teach. So I'll give you the link for the Mel and I go live tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And if you're watching this recording after the fact and you're like, Dave, I couldn't make the live. Cool. Just send us a DM, right? We're at Investor Mel Dave. We've got about 900,000 followers on all social media platforms, right? So again, if you're following us, please follow us on different platforms as we post different content, different places. But just send us a message, or even if you're here live and you can't make it tomorrow, by signing up by signing up to the actual webinar, you will receive Mel and I's our first Amazon best-selling book. Okay, so you'll get our ebook. It's like, I think 88 pages. It's a short read. It talks about how to find cash flowing, cash cow properties, talks about mindset, talks about helping you get off the fence. I see so many people that are stuck on the fence and they're like, Dave, I should have done this years ago. I know you should have. Believe me, I know you should have, but you didn't. And that's fine. That's so fine. Okay. You didn't do it. But now don't wait another 10 years to not do it again. So we talk about that in the book as well. There's so much, again, when I speak with people, there's so much, what's the word I want to use? Remorse? I don't even know if that's the word I want to use. Does that make sense? Remorse? Anyway, there's so much regret, remorse, whatever, that they didn't do it sooner. So if you're listening to this, maybe this video came into your life at the perfect time, right? Through Bank of Canada interest rate cuts or through the Fed, hopefully cuts this afternoon. But if you've been thinking about this and you're kicking yourself in the you-know-what because you haven't done it, I don't know, a month ago, 6 months ago, 6 years ago, whatever it is, maybe this is a little kick that you need to get started. But anyway, Mel and I can help you if you are interested, whether you're a beginner, whether you're new to Canada, new to the US, whether you've already got 10 properties, whether you've already got 100 units, right? Again, Mel and I have been there. We've grown past 100 units, right? We've now purchased over 200 and, was it 260? Anyway, so we've been there. So whether you're starting out or you're growing an existing portfolio, there's different problems at different stages, and we can help you get through them. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for being here on the live. Hopefully the Fed announces an interest rate cut, just like the Bank of Canada did. BoC 6 cuts in 7 months. And the Fed was what? 3 cuts, hopefully a 4th one today, and like, I don't know, was it 5 or 6 months or so. But either way, continue buying real estate. That's what Mel and I are going to do. Always be buying what we say. So yeah, thanks so much for attending the live, and I'll see you next Bank of Canada.